Honda brought back a machine that wasn't just about going anywhere, but about feeling unstoppable while doing it. And here's the twist. This isn't some lightweight, beginner-friendly bike. This is a big, raw, old-school thumper that demands respect, but rewards you with one of the most satisfying riding experiences ever. Welcome back to Acer Rider, and today we're diving into a seriously powerful comeback idea, the 2026 Honda XL500. Now let me say this up front. This is not a cute bike. This is not a starter bike. This is the kind of machine that makes you think twice before kicking it to life, and then makes you grin the moment it fires up. Because the original Honda XL500 was something else entirely. Back in 1979, Honda introduced this 497 cubic centimeters, air-cooled single-cylinder beast, producing around 32 horsepower with strong torque and a heavy, commanding presence. And here's the thing. It wasn't just powerful for its time, it felt powerful. And this is where I want to bring in my personal input, because this matters. There's a huge difference between modern power and old-school power. Modern bikes deliver power smoothly, predictably, almost too perfectly. But a big single like the XL500, it thumps, it shakes, it talks to you. It reminds you that you're riding something mechanical, something alive. And honestly, I think we need more of that. Now imagine Honda bringing that feeling into 2026. Let's talk design first, because this bike needs to look serious. The original XL500 had that tall, rugged stance, high front fender, long suspension travel, a big fuel tank, and that unmistakable I can go anywhere attitude. And I really hope Honda keeps that identity, because this is not a bike that should look soft or modernized in a flashy way. It should look tough. Picture this. Classic Honda red. Tall, commanding stance. High-mounted exhaust. Slim but muscular body. Spoked wheels. But with modern refinement, cleaner lines, better finishing, LED lighting. Not flashy, just confident. And I'll be honest, that kind of design hits differently. Now let's talk engine, because this is where everything depends. The original had a 500 cubic centimeter air-cooled single-cylinder engine, producing around 32 horsepower and strong torque low in the rev range. And I'll say this clearly. This bike is all about torque. Not speed, not high revs. Just raw, usable, pulling power. And this is something I personally love. Because riding a big single feels different. You don't need to push it hard. You don't need to chase RPMs. You just roll on the throttle, and it goes. That's it. Now in 2026, Honda would likely go with a modern 450 to 500 cubic centimeters fuel-injected engine. And that's fine. But here's my personal take, and this is important. It needs to keep that thumper character. Because if it becomes too smooth, too refined, it stops being an XL500. It becomes just another dual sport. And that would be a huge mistake. Now performance, this is where things get real. The original XL500 weighed around 135 to 142 kilograms dry, which is actually quite heavy compared to smaller bikes. And I'll be honest, you feel that weight. This is not a flickable, lightweight machine. But here's the interesting part. That weight gives it presence. It feels planted, stable, strong. And when you combine that with a torquey engine, you get a bike that feels unstoppable. And this is something I personally respect a lot, because not every bike needs to feel light and playful. Some bikes should feel solid. Now imagine that with modern upgrades, better frame design, improved weight distribution, advanced suspension, long travel forks, and a modern rear monoshock would completely transform how this bike handles. It would still feel strong, but way more controlled. And that's the key. Because the original XL500 was described as one of the closest bikes to a perfect on-off road machine back in its time. Now imagine what it could be today. Now let's talk about something people don't always mention. Effort. This bike requires effort. Starting it, riding it, controlling it. And I'll be honest, that's part of the appeal. Because when a bike demands something from you, the experience becomes more rewarding. You're not just riding, you're engaged. And personally, I think that's something modern bikes sometimes lack. Now, braking. This is where modern upgrades are non-negotiable. The original used drum brakes, which, not ideal anymore. So, front disc brake, rear disc brake, ABS. That's essential. Because this is a powerful, heavy machine, you need control. Now, features. This is where I think Honda needs to be very careful. Because this bike should not become overly modern. Fuel injection? Yes. LED lights? Sure. Simple display? Fine. But that's it. No ride modes. No unnecessary electronics. Because the moment you add too much, you lose the raw character. And that's the whole point of this bike. Now let's talk about who this bike is actually for. And I'll be honest, this is not for beginners. This is for riders who want something real, something that challenges them a bit, something that feels mechanical, physical, alive. And personally, I think there's a growing number of riders who want exactly that. Because after riding modern bikes for a while, you start craving something with more personality, more character, more soul. And that's exactly what the 2026 Honda XL500 could bring back. Now here's the twist I mentioned at the beginning. What if this bike doesn't try to compete with modern machines at all? What if it just brings back a completely different kind of riding experience? Because think about it. This wouldn't be the fastest. It wouldn't be the lightest. It wouldn't be the most advanced. But it might be the most memorable. And honestly, that matters more than anything. So the real question is, would you ride something like this? A big, raw, torquey machine that demands effort but gives you something modern bikes can't? Because I'll be honest, I would choose this. Not for convenience, but for the experience. If this got you fired up, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Acer Rider. Because here we're not just talking about bikes, we're talking about what makes riding unforgettable. And before we wrap this up, quick disclaimer. The 2026 Honda XL500 discussed here is not an officially confirmed model by Honda. This concept is based on historical data, real specifications, and current industry trends, combined with AI-assisted creative interpretation for entertainment and discussion purposes. Because sometimes, the bikes that demand the most give you the best memories.